So are you ready to PR yourself? We'll remove the mystery from all things PR, and we'll discuss everything from our top strategies to tips and tricks and everything that you can utilize to further enhance your brand or your message. I've been in media, I'm a journalist, and I'm also a publicist. I am Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, and your host for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Let's go. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. You guys, listen, you guys are blowing my mind. We just received notification that this podcast is in the top 30, number 29 actually, in the US for marketing podcasts and in the top 100 in Canada for marketing podcasts. So thank you to each and every one of you faithful listeners. Thank you guys for sharing this out. Thank you for interacting with me. Thanks for sharing it on social media. We're just extremely grateful that this project has reached the levels that it has in such a short period of time. So thank you again. And I want you guys to just get interactive. Go on pryourselfwithleahfrazier.com. Leave me a message and let me know if you have an episode suggestion or there's something going on with your business that you want me to bring in the experts to help and tell you how to PR it better. Again, get involved. You're going to go to the link in my bio at the Leah Frazier on Instagram, and I have a whole list of things you can do. You can join our private Facebook group. In that group, I go live. I tell you what's hot and trending in social media and marketing and PR. I put media leads in there. There's one I've got to do today. And you're also going to want to interact with the other women. And I think we have some men in that community now, in that private Facebook community, okay? Because I'm going to start growing that so that you guys can discuss among yourselves how to PR yourselves better as we move through 2021 and beyond. Also, if you're interested, we still have the monthly membership available. It's only $49 a month, and you can find information on that at think3media.com/think3edu. That is our monthly membership where I literally do a class session like I would teach with my students at the university. I do a class session on what's hot in marketing and public relations. I give you your takeaways. I give you something to work on for 30 days. And then several weeks later, we come back and we mastermind as a group to make sure that we're working on that one thing that you need to get worked on for that month. And we continue that monthly. And it's a great resource and it's a great way, an affordable way for you to hear from me. I bring in experts and also for you to have accountability. That way you're working through for solutions for your small business or as an entrepreneur. And lastly, you're going to want to stay tuned. Yes, pryourselfbook.com. You're going to want to sign up for that as we get closer to the book being released. But also you're going to want to go to PR Yourself with leahfrazier.com online. There's a tab called course, and you're going to want to sign up there because I am re-releasing my live course one last time. I know I said that before. I'm going to do it again. I have just revised it. I've created a couple more modules, and it's really going to go into a little bit more of an organized depth on how you can earn free media and press coverage consistently for your small business and your brand. And again, it's super duper affordable, and I want to offer that to you guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and enjoy this latest episode. And I look forward to hearing from you all. All right, welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I told you that this next guest was coming. Actually, I didn't. I kind of said I'm going to ask her. I didn't know if she was going to say yes, but I am a positive human being. And while I was in the studio, I said, I am reaching out to this Pinterest master, the Pinterest whisperer. I like the way that sounds. And she said yes. And so I'm so excited to welcome Jana Osofsky to my show. Thank you so much for calling in.
Oh my goodness, Leah. Thank you for having me. This is my pleasure and honor. But thank you for that amazing intro.
I'm excited because I met Jana at the club, but not like the club, but like Clubhouse Club.
Yes.
And I don't even know how you fell on my radar. I think I was in the hallway and I saw this Pinterest room and something had, and this is like a true story. Something had been bugging me for like a couple of weeks about Pinterest, and I didn't know why. I'm like, I haven't really been on it in a while. Let me just go in this room. But in my head, for like 2 weeks prior, something was telling me to start putting my PR courses or trying to find a way to drive traffic to the website through Pinterest. But again, I had that voice inside of me that's like, Leah, that's stupid. And then this room appears. And then I go in the room and Jana's on the stage, just like dropping all these gems. I had like 2 pages worth of notes. There was another room you did. I literally had to pull the car over and speak notes to my device. And I was like, holy cow, when I get home, I've got to do all these changes, she said. And here's the best part. I like people that are no BS. Jana will tell you, look, I'm getting on this stage for about 15 minutes. I'm going to drop 3 points and then I'm out of here because I got to go. And I think that was the moment I said, I have to follow you. So that is how I kind of connected with you in Clubhouse. And it's just been awesome learning from you ever since. So,
Oh my goodness. Thank you so
thanks.
much for being in my rooms. And I think the first time that we interacted on Clubhouse, I was in your room. And you may not remember because I think I was just listening. I didn't come up and ask any questions, but I was super impressed by you. And my guess is that I probably followed you and then you followed me back. And that's why my room showed up in your hall. Right. But anyway, so right back at you is my point. You're amazing.
So tell everybody, because I'm obsessed and I try every time I get pinged and it's like, Jana scheduled a room. Okay, when she scheduled a room, I need this on the calendar. It's ping. She pinged me into the room. So I want you to tell everybody a little bit about your story, like how you got into the Pinterest game and to what you're doing right now so they can kind of understand my obsession.
Oh my goodness. All right. So it started for me about 4 years ago. I have a background, I have a degree in marketing, went into corporate human resources, worked in human resources for years, ended up working when I moved to Florida from Boston in a couple of sales and marketing jobs, JOBs, when I first moved down here to Florida. And then I decided I wanted to be location independent for all the reasons that we choose that, right? And so I started a little like marketing support business essentially. My very first client who was like fully in the online space is, and I still work with her actually, is a coach and a course creator and a service provider. So she provides, all 3 of those containers in her business to help her people with the transformation that she provides. And so I learned pretty quickly when I got into the back end of her business and was looking around and figuring out what was going on, because here I am supporting her content marketing efforts, that Pinterest was actually driving the vast majority of the traffic to her website. She was getting the vast majority of her leads to her main lead magnet that she uses to grow her email list from Pinterest. She was selling her courses to a lot of people who had discovered her on Pinterest, and even, bringing people along on that customer journey to become like more high-end clients as well. So Pinterest was really just playing this huge role in her marketing. And I just didn't understand before I knew her and was able to be privy to the back end of her business, how that could have even been a thing, right? So I jumped in and learned all about it. Supporting her with it, but then also I took on other clients with Pinterest as well, and it became my niche. So I took a couple of courses in the beginning. And then, of course, a lot of the work and my own framework that I've developed has been through the client work that I have done. So I work primarily with coaches, course creators, and service providers who want to use Pinterest to grow their lists on autopilot and to get clients for their one-to-one coaching programs, their group coaching programs, their courses, and their membership types of programs. So there are a lot of different kinds of businesses that do really well on Pinterest. And I just really specifically focus on the infopreneurs, right? The coaches, course creators, service providers. So that is my niche and how I found it. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about, I imagine we'll talk a little bit about why Pinterest is so great. So I'll reserve my why for that part of the conversation. But there are reasons why I fell in love with it and chose it as a platform and as a niche.
Well, let's kind of talk about it because, as I mentioned before, I had kind of a stigma with it where I thought, okay, this is for more visual brands. This is for when I first got onto Pinterest, I was pinning a lot of things in fashion and beauty and recipes and, the wedding boards and all of that. And like I said, it blew my mind when it entered into my mind, like, Leah, you need to consider Pinterest for all of your business, like you said, all of your
Mhm.
information. And then I started following you. And so tell us a little bit about like where are we going wrong in our thought process to where now we need to open it up to the way you kind of see things? Like what's the value in Pinterest for business leaders and coaches and consultants?
Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely like some myths that about Pinterest that keep people from being able to really harness it and know, understand its power and then harness its power. So one of the myths is the one you just mentioned. A lot of people still think of it as a place where people are just posting about recipes and wedding planning and DIY home decor and things like that. And don't get me wrong, they are. It is definitely a hub of information for that, which is one of the reasons why the platform is still primarily female. Although there are men signing up these days too, of course. So a lot of people still think of it that way, which is, normal and natural. When something first starts, it gets kind of a reputation. And Pinterest is only about 10 years old as a platform. So, but the thing is that it's grown tremendously, like literally grown in terms of now it's at 460 million monthly users. It surpassed, I think it was Snapchat, to become the third largest visibility platform online. It drives actually 5% of all website traffic,
Mm.
which, 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think about it, like that's 5% of all website traffic is coming from Pinterest. It really does have a little, a significant little slice of that pie. So because of all of that, and more people joining it as users, the diversity of the topics has really exploded over the last few years, especially. So two particular people or people types or niches that really applies to in my world. One of them would be, it's really become a big hub of information for self-care, health and wellness, and general like wellness and self-love. And so for a lot of the online coaches and course creators that teach in that space or are appealing to people who have that self-development kind of bent, it's really powerful to know that that's the case. And in fact, the Pinterest Predicts report from this past December had an entire section about all of the different types of self-care, self-love, health and wellness types of keywords that have been trending and are expected to even continue to trend up in 2021. And that was all happening prior to the pandemic. So you can
Wow.
imagine with the pandemic added into that whole mix, culturally speaking, both people being at home a lot more and looking for positivity and looking for opportunities to learn about self-care and looking really on Pinterest for ideas and inspiration around self-care, it's just exploded. The other niche or area that really has made a big impact on this growth that Pinterest has experienced is the business to business niches. So
Mm-hmm.
traditionally speaking, or historically, the B2B niches have niches, whatever, have, I go back and forth these days. It's a whole
I
nother
did
story.
too. I like it's
Yeah.
whatever,
It's,
however you do it. Tomato,
yeah.
tomato.
I think it's Clubhouse hearing different people say it out loud instead of reading it so much. I've started to like go back and forth. But anyway, so another example, that Pinterest Predicts report also had an entire section that was called CEO is the new DIY. And the entire part of the article was
Mm.
all about the fact that these days, a lot of those B2B keywords and long tail keywords that historically have taken a little more time to grow in those niches on Pinterest are exploding. They exploded last year and they're expected to continue to trend upwards this year, which again makes sense if you think about what's going on culturally in the world. There are a lot of people looking to start online businesses, moving their brick and mortar businesses online, those types of things. So all of that is happening on Pinterest, and people who are on there and are savvy to it can take advantage of all of that.
What I love, I mean, there's so much. Like, thank you. We could like literally end the interview right now, like mind blown, pff, emoji. But there's so many things that I like that you said, but specifically this realm of just having awareness. Are you aware of what is going on around you? And then how can you plug in your business into that
Right.
landscape so that like I was like, I'm gonna have to cut Jana a check. Like, I'm gonna have to cut you two checks. One, when I get all my business stuff up on there, and I'm actually getting my meditation training certification going through like I don't know how many months. I think it's 8 months
Oh,
because I'm gonna start doing like meditative practices for women just like me to get our
ooh.
zen. But now I'm like, I'm gonna throw that up on Pinterest. So I got to cut Jana 2 checks.
Oh, well, you don't have to cut me 2 checks, but most definitely put that up on Pinterest for sure.
So I think
Yes.
I think that's awesome. Can I ask you a serious question though? I think
Hmm.
sometimes people get nervous because they feel like I'm just gonna be this little bitty fish in this big pond. So if I get into Pinterest now, you said, okay, 10 years, and now it's opened up this space for B2B, and it's opened up this space for business coaching and leaders. Is it too late? Is it oversaturated?
No. Yeah. Oh, so two reasons why I say unequivocally no. The first reason is that this is still something that is new. I would say that the coaches, course creators, service providers, the infopreneur people who are on Pinterest now are still kind of early adopters in the sense that they're a little bit late to the platform, and not late in the sense that they're too late, but it's taken our infopreneur kind of world a little later, to discover it. So I think you'd still be getting in on the, kind of the ground floor, so to speak, as an infopreneur at this point. But the other way that I want to answer that question and kind of shift the thinking on that a little bit is that one of the amazing things about Pinterest, one of the things I love about it is that it is a search engine. So you may hear people say it's a search engine, not social media, right? And that means a lot of different things. But one
Mhm.
of the things that it means is that this is about getting in front of people who are already searching for the thing that you offer, or that you help with, or the solution that you have for them. So because of that, so if they're already looking for you and you show up when they're looking for you, right, with that thing that they want and need, that's pretty powerful. But what happens is you use keywords in order to be able to do that. That's the, how we get in front of the right people. And one of the great things about any kind of keyword strategy and search engine based strategy rather than social media is that you get really niched into what it is that those keywords are. So you go what we call long tail keywords to
Mhm.
basically make it so that just the right people are going to discover you. So yes, you might feel like a little fish in a big pond, but the way that you combat that, if you will, is you use the keywords that are going to be the ones that are going to be at that intersection of the perfect match type of person. So if someone's looking specifically for this particular long tail keyword, and maybe we can even come up with an example for your business, Leah, to help illustrate this, because I feel like it'll be more helpful to have an example. Then all of a sudden you're no longer just a little fish in a big pond. You're a really, really, credible medium-sized fish that's showing up in this particular search. And
Mm.
maybe you're only one of 5 different pins that they found that looks like it might be answering the question that they're looking for, or offering the idea or the inspiration that they're looking
Mm.
for. So in that way, you get to really hone in on those searches, and those people get to really hone in on your information, which for them is exactly the information they needed at the time they were looking for it. So hopefully that makes sense. You know what I mean? You're no longer, you're a medium fish in a pond, because now there's only 5 options that look credible to them to click through, to get that information, because they just searched for it.
I love it. And I think when people are searching, particularly because we just really hone in on public relations, but from the landscape of getting our clients as much press and media as possible. So media relations and press and media outreach. But oftentimes, even if people aren't able to work with us and they just want to take the course,
Yep.
or maybe they want the products, it's because they're trying to get that free media and press coverage and learn how to do it. So I think if I were to set anything up, it would be around that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know people search for those things, and I've kind of tried to how to do PR by yourself. I've also seen DIY PR and some other things. So that's kind
Yep.
of I'll have to
I'm
do my homework.
seeing how to get media coverage, how to get media attention.
Mm.
Let me pop in free and see what that brings up. How to get, let's see, I don't know if free media is coming up, but yeah, that's how you're thinking exactly in the right direction, is finding those perfect long tail keywords that when someone searches for that, and we know that they are because we just did the research, right? And we found out they search for it, and up comes your pin. Now, yes, it's still in a sea with a few other fish in their search, right? In their search feed. But our goal is to get it, up toward the top of the search feed. And one of the best ways you can do that is by going really specific with your keywords.
Oh, so excited. Okay, so I have work to do. All right, so here, use me as the example, and I'm sure all my listeners, y'all are in the same boat, because if you weren't, you would have not have been complaining. So, all right, I want to start with Pinterest. I don't want to get overwhelmed. So what
Mhm.
are like just my top, here's how to get started and what to do as far as now you want to get into the Pinterest game?
Yeah. So that's, I think, actually, I'm really glad you asked that because I think that's kind of like also one of the other myths, excuse me, that's associated with Pinterest is that people believe that it's complicated. They think that there's no way to be successful at it without making it really complicated or time consuming. And if you think about it in the context of other platforms, there's always going to be your basics, which I like to call the 101 strategies and the 101 things that you need to have in place. And then you have your 201s, the things that you can layer in later if you want, once you've mastered the 101 things. And so that is exactly what I aim to do when I teach my course, which is Pinterest with Purpose. What I'm aiming to do when I'm teaching in Clubhouse anytime is to try to reduce that overwhelm because frankly, that overwhelm is one of the things that definitely gets in the way of people, coaches, course creators, service providers who have something amazing that we really want to use Pinterest to amplify. It gets in their way of doing that. So the basic things that I teach are like a 4-pillar framework. And those 4 pillars, the first one is the keywords. So that's where you're doing some keyword research. You have to have a keyword strategy that does require that you know your audience a little bit before you start doing this. So that's important to know so you can figure out what it is that they're searching for. Um, and then the second piece of it is the visuals. So of course, Pinterest is, like you mentioned earlier, a very visual platform. So you want to have a way to be able to create visuals, whether that's going to be in Canva or through your photography, if that's the type of business you have or whatever it is, you need to have a way to be able to fairly easily create visuals, pins that you're going to put on the platform because that's how we post on the platform. And we want those visuals to basically do 2 things. We want them to stop the scroll so they get the attention of the right people, not the wrong people because we don't care about them, but if it's the right person, we want it to very quickly let them know they're in the right place and literally get them to say, whoa, 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 back up. I got to look at that pin, right? And then to get that micro conversion, which is going to be to get them to do the next thing with you as well. So that's the second pillar is the visuals. And then the third one is consistency. And the fourth one is time. And so those things really go hand in hand. Pinterest is not a fast platform. And that's one of the things that I think sometimes gets in people's way as well. They get going on it and they think that it's going to provide them really fast results, or they think it should provide the same kind of, or provide results at the same pace, maybe as like Instagram would. Instagram also, I mean, any strategy is going to require time and patience, right? But Pinterest really is a little slower even than other platforms. And so sometimes people give up too soon. They don't see their ROI right out of the gate, which is very normal on Pinterest. So they give up before they get to the point where they're actually going to see the fruits of their labor. So consistency and time on the platform are the other pillars that I teach. And then as far as getting overwhelmed, there's a whole bunch of things that I call Pinterest shiny objects that I try to teach people to avoid
This is
in
for
the
me.
beginning. Okay. I teach people to avoid those things in the beginning. So some of those shiny objects are things that are just outdated strategies that I never want you to do, at least unless something changes, right? And then some of those are things that people think that they need to be doing right away, that are good strategies, but really aren't going to perform for you until you have your basics in place. And so examples would be like, for instance, shiny objects. One example that I teach as something to avoid are Pinterest group boards. And that's shocking to some people. Some people think, well, gee, that must be the way to be successful. But Pinterest group boards are actually an outdated strategy. So that's one of the shiny objects that often derails people from actually doing the things that they really need to be doing to actually move the needle and make money. Meanwhile, they're trying to find group boards and trying to apply for them and trying to figure them out. And it's like, oh my God, don't waste your time.
Right.
And then another example is story pins. So Pinterest came out with story pins recently, and they're really great. Like they're a great thing for a more advanced Pinterest marketer who already knows their keywords, already has some basic visual strategy in place, already knows, has already been consistent with their pinning for a while and really has their workflow down. But if you jump into the platform and you skip those basic foundational steps because you feel like everyone's, talking about story pins and they're all the rage and you have to do them, then that's when they become a shiny object and they derail you from doing the things you need to get started in the beginning. So I think the best way to avoid the overwhelm that you asked about really is just to know what the differences are between the foundational things that you need to do first, and then being able to identify what those things are that you want to layer in next once you have got your 101 strategies in place and you're ready to move on to 201.
This has been amazing. Like, I honestly have my work cut out for me, but I just from hearing you talk about it, I know it's going to pay off. Like, I
Oh,
am committed. I'm going to be Jana's success story. I'm going to see,
amazing.
I'm going to be her greatest testimonial yet, and all you guys out there listening too. So we have a couple minutes left, and I want to talk a little bit about the masterclass that you offer. You talk about it a lot in Clubhouse, like, hey, go to the link here. And I want everybody to get tapped into that so that they can, take it and see that this is the real deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I created this masterclass for two reasons. Number one, because it does get people into my email list, obviously, and it does sell my course.
You're so honest. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. But the other reason I created it, and this part is really the part that might be not more surprising, but this is the kind of the thing I wanted to say, is that I created it because people have a lot of questions for me about the Pinterest basics. And one of the things that comes up a lot is that people really do make the big mistake, like the biggest mistake people make when they're approaching Pinterest for the first time, the mistake that causes them to waste a lot of time and a lot of frustration, and maybe even to give up on the platform before they really get any results, even though they put all this time and effort into it, is when they try to approach it like social media as opposed to like the search engine that it is. And so my masterclass I created specifically so that people could come and learn what I mean when I say Pinterest is a search engine, because people understand that to some degree, but we're just kind of scraping the surface when we say that. What you really need to understand is why that matters to you, and why you are going to do things differently on Pinterest, and how you're going to do things differently on Pinterest, and why that matters to your marketing strategy and to your success with this as a tactic. So that's why I created it. It's called the five secrets to growing your audience on autopilot and getting clients using Pinterest. So again, it's really for people who are aiming to use the platform to bring people into their audience so that they can get more clients and students and membership members. So that's, of course, going to be coaches, course creators, service provider types. And it really essentially is teaching you like the basics about what I mean when I say it's a search engine, so that you will not waste time and get really frustrated, in the beginning, because you're trying to treat it like social media and not understanding like why this isn't working. Right. So that's what that's there for. So that's the masterclass, and anyone who's listening can take it. And it's free. It's, available on demand, and it's free.
And it's on your website?
It is. You can go to janaomedia.com/free class. And that is where you'll find it.
And for anybody that is looking at this online, this will be linked in the caption along with her social media information. And I have another class you may want to consider, Jana. I think you should put one out on how to efficiently and effectively run a Clubhouse room and get your point across, because you are the best at that. Look, I got 3 tips for you. Boom, boom, boom. We got this much time for questions. I'm closing the room out, and make it a good night.
Amazing.
I think that's your next class for Clubhouse.
Amazing. Yeah. I've been teaching, different rooms with different formats on Clubhouse, but I've definitely been noticing that some people really do appreciate those rooms that I teach, that are just like in and out, here, take these tips and go implement them. So I appreciate your feedback on that.
And she's the absolute best. So be sure, if you're on Clubhouse, because that's all I've been talking about literally for the last month, be sure to follow Jana O Media. And you just opened a Clubhouse club as well, because I think I just joined it.
I did. Thank you for joining. I'm so excited to have you. Yeah, we opened a club called the Profitable Pinterest Marketing Club on Clubhouse. And we have all sorts of great programming planned. And yeah, it's really exciting. I'm very excited to be creating this community.
Well, thank you so much, Jana, for coming on. Man, you're amazing. I need a part 2, 3. I need to take the course. I just take my money. I'm just gonna do an ACH debit right into your account. Like, here, just take my money. But this has been great. You guys follow Jana. I'm not joking. There's not too many people that I will stop everything in my day to click into their rooms and to see what they have to say. And they just so generously give value. We hear that word, but I'm being so honest when I hear things from her, I implement it right away. So take the masterclass, connect with her. If you just don't have the time to do it, get somebody on your team to do it. But it's very valuable. Connect with her, follow her. She's amazing. You know what to do. Subscribe. You need this one. I don't care if you share the other ones. Yes, I kind of do. But this one, I really want you to share because this is next level. And when I tell you, when something drops in my head, I'm on to something. So please share, rate and review this podcast. Let me know how Jana's tips has helped you so I can get them back to her. Tag her online. Show her that you're in your Pinterest account. Put her in your stories. Spread the word because she is the hidden gem that I feel like I found on Clubhouse. And so we're going to toast to that. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time.